So I was going through a box of some of my old stuff from high school, and I came across a lot of the comics I made in high school. Now, mind you, it's been about a year since I've graduated from high school. Sorry about that. But, as you can see with all these comics and drawings, I loved doing this in high school. So, let's start out with the Miscellaneous bunch. These are a bunch of comics that I made a while back. There's some guys in a car talking about going to Disneyland, and the car veers off the road. I never continued this comic, and I might do that later, though the art style will be a little upgraded. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of these comics. A lot of them are just drawings under here and stories for other things I was working on. That's pretty much it, actually, for this stack. And these are some books. This is a comic book I made about army men. And yes, all three of them do die at the end. Here's some comics that were based off of Sonic the Hedgehog. I used a very simplistic art style. There's two books, actually. There's this one, and there's this one. This was also an unfinished comic that I had worked on in 2019 when I was in the 11th grade, and I never finished it. I want to finish it eventually. This is a comic series I made called Ghost. It was about a ghost, and the ghost colors were based off of the Pac-Man ghost. This was my most popular comic in high school, and I made it when I was in the 10th grade. Billy and Bimmy. Billy and Bimmy, I sort of based off of a web series I used to watch called Batman Spider-Man. It's a parody of Batman and Spider-Man. Of course, this has nothing to do with the same humor as Batman and Spider-Man, but nonetheless, it was one of my inspirations for making this comic. And fun fact, up until other comics that I made later on, this was the only comic that I made that actually has an ending to it. Yeah, that's there right there. These were ones that I made in the 10th grade also. Spulb, Spulb. Now, Spulb was the name of a very popular YouTuber. I'm not saying that Spulb is dead or anything, but he's very close to me, and he told me that he deleted his channel just because he got bored of it, if I remember correctly. But anyways, he used to have a ton of channels, and one of them involved him making videos with Gmod. So, because I knew him so well, I actually made some comics based off of the videos. How about this? See, there's and this is my first time working with pseudo hardcover books, so they were just cardboard slabs glued onto the paper pages. And here's a fun fact: I made the same book twice. Issue number 4, issue number 4. I remade issue number 4. See, here's the remake. Here's the original. Because I lost the original outside one time, and it got soggy in the rain. Here is a Captain Underpants inspired comic that I made, also in 10th grade, Stick Boy. And Stick Boy had Fliparamas in it. They weren't very good-looking Fliparamas, but they were Fliparamas nonetheless. And there's even an origin issue I made. Now, there is a 5th issue that is unfinished, and it's about Stick Boy being kidnapped. So yeah, that's the Stick Boy comics. And this one is actually, inspired one of the characters from my channel. the Commander Carl comics. Commander Carl started out as a series of comics I had made, and this is like its own version of the character I made, because this version of Commander Carl isn't set during the Second World War. It's actually set during the Vietnam War. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this. Here's the final comic I made. And it's about him basically talking to the president and accidentally extending the war. Here's a collection of more Fliparamas I made. There's a lot of them with people. A lot of them are just people getting hit on the head or struck by lightning. Maybe I'll do a showcase video on those. But right now, let's get back to this. This was the book that really made me very popular in my class, because I managed to draw memes. I drew them perfectly, and no, these aren't printed out, these are actually drawn. You can see some of the deformities from where I was drawing. I didn't even trace over this crap either. I didn't even know what tracing was, or is. I can't do that. You see how the marker bleeds through the back? And there's this. Yeah, a lot of them are SpongeBob ones. A lot of them are SpongeBob ones. See, I drew a lot of Squidward pictures, but I did draw more memes. Some of them look good, some of them look okay, and some of them just look meh. That's supposed to be Jimmy Neutron's dad. Here's Mung Dull from Chowder. That's Banana Joe from Gumball. That's Officer Earl from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. That's Bart Simpson. That's the teacher from The Incredibles. That's Jerry. There's Marge Crumping. That's supposed to be Hank Hill. This is America. Pepe the Frog. The Smallineer. Meme Man. I forgot what this meme was called. I forgot what this one was, too. Shaggy. Oh, and this was the last one I made, fun fact. This was the last meme I drew in school. So yeah, that was the last time I actually drew memes in school, was the 10th grade. I'm gonna put this back. So these are collections of drawings that I made. They're horrendous looking faces. They're just downright awful looking. There's tails. There's George Dryerton, President #1. That one's my favorite, actually, because I like the way I used the black and the blue to make him look like he's been beaten till he's black and blue. There's an ugly face. And if you notice, the one thing about all these ugly faces is they all have big, disgusting lips. And I drew the big, disgusting lips because that's the one detail I like about the human face, is that sometimes the lips of a human face will just poke right out and it'll look horrendously funny. And yeah, so we're down to the last collection of drawings. Through 2017, through 2015 up until 2017, I was a Vaporwave guy. I used to listen to it a lot. And for the longest time, I stopped listening to it until 2019. I actually had memorized the color codes of what colors I was using in art class to make this. And none of this was actually sketched. I just drew it from memory. Yes, that's Mac Tonight. You Moon Man fans, get the fuck out of here. This is actually based off of a real mall. I've been there several times, but unfortunately, it closed down in 2019. Here's a picture of a brick phone. Here's a I call it Paradise City. Here's a picture of a sunset. Here's a Macintosh computer. Here's a picture of a mall. Here's a street. Here's a simple beach drawing. That's supposed to be the sun setting. Here's another one of the sun setting. Here's another Pepsi one. Here's an Apple one. Think different. Here's another mall one. Here's one of a Nintendo being, an NES being played. Here's a Sony record player. And yes, that's Back to the Future. See? There's October 21st, 2015, and there's McFly with his special Nikes riding a Mattel hoverboard. There's a tape that says Experience on it. Windows XP. I love it. This crap. And this was the last drawing I had... Actually, oh wait. Here we are. There's also this one that I had made. This was the last drawing I had made in art class, but in school this was the last Vaporwave drawing I made. I colored it in using what little pieces of color I could get my hands on. You know, like markers and stuff. So I'm gonna just close this book now. Alright, we're down to the last comics I made. Now, before I graduated high school last year, this was the last comic series I made. It was about a group of some of the characters I had created teaming up, and they teamed up and they defeated this villain. Well, it was actually Stick Boy who defeats the villain. But yeah, that's essentially the this was the last comic I had made in high school before graduating. I had made this on the last day, like the last page of the comic I had made on the last day, and I thanked all of my friends and my parents, and this is how I ended the comic. Well, I guess this is the end. All I can say is so long, my friends. That was the last of my comics in school. And here's two stories and somewhat of a comic that my two brothers had made. This is Zombie Series, Outbreak. It's about a group of people who survive a zombie attack. Now, this book is rather old, I'd say about almost a decade old, and the pages are falling out. But anyways, it's a similar gist in this one called Scavenger Z, or Z Scavenger. Similar concept, it's about characters that are trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. I think these two books are actually connected. These books were written by my older brother. I managed to save them from being thrown away while we were cleaning downstairs a couple years back. So this one is by my little brother, and it's a World War I-esque style story. It's somewhat of a big story. I haven't been able to read most of it yet, but I think it's like... he mixed in some of his assignment stuff with it, but at the same time he actually did incorporate drawings into it. That's pretty much it for that. And I want to finish off the video by reading a poem that I had made in high school. This is just a short little poem. Are you ready? There once was a rabbit who could hop so high she jumped all around and into the sky. For days and for nights and months upon end, she'd hop all around in the field with her friends. Then a hunter came around, looking all over the ground, with his huge gun bound, waiting for rabbits to be found. With his bowie knife ready, and a gleam in his eye, the hunter knew in his hands that his prey would die. When the rabbit had noticed a shine from a bush, she hopped right over it with a big mighty rush. Poking her head right through the leaves, she saw something sharp like the stinger of bees. The hunter grabbed her and off he went, feeling level-headed and quite content, until she kicked him in his face, then he dropped her to the ground, and he ran like he was in a race all over and around. After running amok, he went back to his truck, driving back to town feeling like a clown. As the others looked on in great disbelief, they began to cheer as she got rid of their grief. So from that day forward, a nickname was put, her nickname being the Lucky Rabbit's Foot. And yeah, there's some comics and stuff I made in high school. And, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to put this stuff back now. See ya.